Hi everybody, welcome to Drum Talk TV. My name is Alan Kenny and our special guest today is Mr. Rich Redmond. How you doing, Rich?
Morning, how you doing, Alan?
Good, man. Rich is best known for playing with Jason Aldean, recording with Jason Aldean, of course, but he's also performed with Ludacris, Late, Joe Perry, Kelly Clarkson, Bryan Adams. The list goes on. If you go to his website, you'll see a lot more of what Rich is all about. Of course, not only is he a drummer, he's a producer, he's a songwriter, he's a professional speaker, lecturer, and he also does clinics, and he has his own crash course for success, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Let's start back, Rich, with when you started off with your musical education. Let's start with that, and
Sure.
how you started off there.
Let's see. I started in when dinosaurs roamed the earth in 1977. We looked at our sundial and we said, "Let's get this boy some drum lessons." No, I was kind of like a high energy, restless kid, and my dad said, "Do you want to play drums?" I think my dad is an accountant, but I think he secretly wanted to play the drums. He's always tapping on everything, And so he took me to this spot called the Milford Percussion and Guitar Workshop. And I don't think it's there anymore. This is Milford, Connecticut. I'm originally a New Englander. And that's where I first, a guy named Jack Berge taught me how to hold the sticks. He got me one of those Gladstone pads, and we worked out of some Joel Rothman books. And he scribbled out the rudiments for me: flams, drags, roughs, 5-stroke rolls. And soon I added a little kick drum and a little crack, this little warped cymbal, and I was playing along to like Kiss Double Platinum and that first Queen record. And it was fun. It was really fun. And then my parents moved to El Paso, Texas. So you go all the way from Milford, Connecticut to El Paso, Texas.
Wow.
It's like the farthest west you could possibly go in Texas. And my dad was working across the border every day in Mexico, running the factory, the little Mexican ladies making Victoria's Secret underwear, and that's a secret. They make them in Mexico. And so my dad was going across the border every day for 20 years. And so here I am in Texas. In Texas, that actually was a kind of a godsend because it has such a great music education program. Texas has marching bands, and they're very big in football. So when you have football, you have marching bands,
of course,
right?
Yes.
And wherever there's marching bands, there's going to be concert bands and pep bands and stage bands and different outlets to play. So
Yes.
I ended up staying in Texas and getting a undergraduate degree from Texas Tech University in percussion and music education. And then I wanted to go to the famed University of North Texas, where guys like Greg Bissonette and Steve Houghton and Ray Brinker and Keith Carlock all went to school. And that was an incredible 2.5-year period of musical growth for me. And while I was there, I ended up getting a master's degree. So I tell everybody I'm an overeducated rock drummer because the things that I get called for, the things that I do musically are usually the things that I first learned, back in the 70s, playing along to Elton John records and Kiss records. But and education is great because it affords you the ability to play all sorts of different kinds of music and very difficult music. I mean, I've played the music of Frank Zappa. I'll probably never do that again, right? So the most difficult music I ever played was probably in college, but it was great to experience that.
Yeah, and having that musical education helped you be able to get through those issues. To be able to play Zappa. That's as hard as you can get is Zappa music. Yeah.
Yeah, you put that stuff in your bag of tricks, and you can call upon it whenever it's like a wizard. You have this bag of spells, and you could pull out your tricks when you need to,
Exactly. Yeah. So let's. So after once you graduated, what was your first major musical, your professional gig, shall we say?
Oh yeah. Well, what happens is most of the guys that go to the UNT, University of North Texas, they kick around Denton, Texas for a while. And near Denton, Texas, and by the way, Denton, Texas you would never know it. It's a sleepy little town, but it's very vibrant in the sense that there's so many artistic people there playing very crazy music all hours of the night, right? So, so people stay in Denton, Texas for a while, and maybe they save up their money and they go to New York or they go to LA, or people move into Dallas, Texas. Like I was playing in Dallas, Texas, which is half an hour away, and I would sub for Keith Carlock. Keith Carlock had a band called Dallas Brass and Electric, and I played with a guy named Bill Tillman who used to play sax in Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And I was in a band called Random Access, which was an incredibly good band. We learned 2 or 3 new radio hits every week. And our idea was that it really got my programming chops up, because we would play with like Janet Jackson songs and Coolio songs and Tears for Fears songs, and I would want to program all the percussion.
Right.
So it got me into sequencing and sampling and playing with a click track every night, which was very beneficial. And so I was doing that. I was playing wedding bands. I was playing bar mitzvahs. I was playing corporate parties. I was playing on jingles. I was teaching. I was playing at those big Texas super churches, where there's 2,000 people that go to a church on a Sunday morning and the band is slamming. Yeah. And I said, this is great. I've been able to achieve a level of success that some people don't get to. But success is what you define. And for me, success was going to be defined as, was I going to be able to travel the world on somebody else's dime, hear myself on the radio, see myself on the video, do all those things that you dream of. Hey, I want to see myself on MTV or CMT or something. And I knew that wasn't going to happen in Dallas, Texas. So I saved as much money as I possibly could, which was next to nothing. and I was taking some auditions in nearby Nashville. And after 3 auditions in Nashville of hearing, man, you're great, but the gig is going to go to the guy that lives in Nashville already. I said, light bulb moment. I said, no one knows me in New York. Nobody knows me in L.A., but some people know me in Nashville. I'm going to pack up my bags. I gave my band 2 weeks' notice, and we moved to Nashville, and that was March of 1997.
Wow. You had the foot in the door already, so that was the logical move then, was to Nashville then.
Yeah, it just seemed like the thing. Dina, there's an artist named Dina Carter. She came out with this record called Did I Shave My Legs for This? And she was this pretty blonde girl. She was kind of like the second coming of like Linda Ronstadt or something. I was like, wow, this is really cool. It's like California country cool, pop music influence. I think I could do this if this is where Nashville is going. That's cool. Right. And little did I know how hard those first 3 years were going to be in Nashville. Going from playing in a band where I was making $200 a night, or $100 to play a club, and a couple $100 to play on a cat food jingle. Doing okay, putting it all together, and realizing, wow, these people don't care that I have a master's degree in music. These people don't care that I have experience, that I have good sounding gear. I was going to have to prove myself, and you do that by playing for tips down on Lower Broadway. And you prove yourself by taking auditions, sometimes they go to nowhere, and playing for free and doing free demos and rehearsals and crashing parties and putting your business card up at coffee shops and just hoping that people are going to connect the dots.
Right.
And they say it takes 5 years to do that, know?
Right, yeah. Just getting your name around the town and getting your name
It's
out
tough,
there.
and it's kind of a closed shop, Right. It was. I think it was a little bit more closed off. I don't know. I can't decide. In '97, it was a tight-knit group of recording musicians, and you were either a recording musician or you were a touring musician. Right. And there was a very strong line drawn in the sand. And the first thing I told myself was, I am not going to put myself in a box like that, because I like playing in front of people and getting that immediate reaction and communicating with people on that spiritual level. Yeah. And I also like recording. I enjoy both of those skill sets, so I'm going to do both. Very good. Man, I put my mind to that, and I've been able to do that. I record on records, and I tour, and I set my own schedule. And if people want me to do something, it's first come, first serve, and I'm able to do both of those things. Didn't happen overnight, Right. And now I think people are moving from all over the world to Nashville because they realize, wow, I can buy a house for $160,000 and it says 3,000 square, and I have dirt, and I can park, and I can get around, and people look me in the eye, and they're friendly. There's a lot to be said for Nashville, that they call it a little big town for a reason, because it's a town. It really is a town, but there's a tremendous amount of opportunities here. Right. So as far as having a quality life, I think it's what is very attractive to some people now. So we're getting this influence of R&B artists and pop artists, and the musicians that are graduating from Berkeley and UNT and the University of Miami and Musicians Institute are all coming to Nashville now.
Do you think that has an influence on the way the country music has changed somewhat from, say, in the 70s with Johnny Cash and George Strait, that type of music, to the type of music that's out there now? And like the style you're playing with Jason and stuff like that. You think that has an influence on that?
I think sure. The kids go, wow, I could still play the big beat. I can play these big Ringo, Bonham, Keith Moon style beats. Right. And the artists that are playing are doing multi-night sellouts in stadiums. We're going to, we've done 5 or 6 stadiums this year, all sold out. Next year it'll probably be more of the same thing. And artists like Brad Paisley, Carrie Underwood, Taylor Swift are all doing the same thing.
Yes.
And believe me, I love rock and roll, man. I mean, I'm a rock drummer. I'm an overeducated rock drummer. But there are some rock bands that are doing package tours that can't put 1,000 butts in seats at the House of Blues.
Right.
So it's just, the industry goes up and down, and right now, country is just there's a really strong momentum there.
It does,
the other thing that is interesting is that there will always be, hopefully I will say this, but with all the other markets, big studios closing down, Nashville still has tons of studios. I mean, per capita, there's a studio on every corner.
Wow. Yeah.
And much like Hollywood, everybody that waits tables here is not an actor; they're a guitar player. They used to call it Guitar Town, but I kind of think they need to rename it to Drum Town. I mean, you go to any bar any night to go see a band play or an open mic jam session, there's 40 drummers.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's
crazy, I know.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk a little bit more about Jason, how you got with Jason, and how that all took off for you.
People ask me, that's a great question. How did the thing with Jason happen? And a lot of people think like, he's lucky, or what an overnight sensation. My God, what a lucky dude. There's no such thing as luck in the music business. I talked to my friend a lot about. Actually, had a recent conversation with our pal Jason Sutter. He plays with Marilyn Manson, Foreigner. Great guy, real birds of a feather guy, man. What a sweetheart. But a hard worker. He's not afraid. It's obvious he has God-given talent. But the guy was never afraid to roll up his sleeves and get busy and get in the mix and prove to people. Right. And that's what the music business and the entertainment arts are all about continually proving to people that you deserve to be where you are and that gig has your name on it. So the Aldean thing was not an audition situation. It speaks to, my crash course. I talk about commitment. I talk about relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. Yeah. Relationships. I met a guitar player named Kurt Allison that I am still playing with to this day, 16 years later. That's 4 presidencies, ex-girlfriends, ex-wives, clothing styles, hairstyles, all changed. We're still playing music together, right? Nice. So I meet this guy. He champions me because he meets a bass player named Tully Kennedy. And Tully is putting a band together for a gal named Amy Johns. And Amy got out of the music business, but at the time she was chasing a record deal. And I need a band to learn 60 songs to play 5 sets with this girl. So Kurt champions me and says, I got the guy. He doesn't even need a rehearsal. He'll have everything all written out. He'll know the tempos. Just give him the set list. And they're like, okay. So I walk into soundcheck, and I hit a groove with Kurt and Tully, and we looked at each other and it was like chemical reaction. It was magic. It was a magic rhythm section. It just felt wonderful. It felt like we were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And Tully goes on to meet a young Jason Aldean, who's struggling, writing songs for Warner Chappell Music. We start doing showcases, throwing our instruments in the back of vans. We played for every suit in Nashville. We played for every label 4 times at every showcase place in Nashville. Different combinations of bands, different set lists, change the set list order, unplugged, let's add a fiddle, let's take his hat off. I mean, we did every combination to show people this act is the real deal.
Right, yeah.
And somebody took a chance on Jason in 2004, and we cut that first record. Took 8 months for the first single to climb the charts, and we have been on the road actively taking the music to the people since April of 2005.
Wow.
So that's what you call in the music business a steady gig.
Yeah.
So very, very happy and grateful for that. It wasn't always 20 buses and 20 semis, and it was 4 guys, Jason and us, and a 3-piece band.
Yeah.
In a van, and then we went to a very used bus, with the velvet paintings of the dogs playing cards, velvet Elvises, and creaky old buses, man. We showered at YMCA's, and we ate ramen noodles, and it got better, and it got better, and it got better, and you fast forward, and I got a roof over my head, I got a cat that's fed, my wife is happy, and I think it just speaks to persistence,
Yeah, very good, yeah. the first time I heard you on the first I heard of you was actually a Sabian promo. Yourself and Chad Smith were doing it, and I just straight away I felt the passion that you have for music and for drumming as well. And I said I gotta check out more of this guy. But I time went on, I didn't get to find out what band you were in at the time. But I was playing then in a bar, and Jason's song Dirt Road Anthem came on.
Yeah.
And then it sounded like just a regular country song at first, and then it goes into that hip hop beat and the rapping, and it's just like, wow, this is amazing stuff. You know, it's like totally breaking the boundaries here. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about the song and how you approach that. It's an amazing song.
Well, that's a really fun, different song. It was written by a guy named Brantley Gilbert and Colt Ford. And Colt Ford, here's relationships. You know, we did double bills with Colt Ford a lot recently. Colt Ford wrote that song. He also recorded it. Brantley wrote the song and recorded it, but Jason was able to take it to a mass audience, you know, which is always great. If you're a songwriter, you always want to get your song to somebody who can take your song to the masses. The song was originally written with a drum loop, you know, like a 2-bar drum loop on a drum machine. And the first thing that happens when you're in a recording studio is you'll get a song like that and you say, oh my God, what am I supposed to do with this? Am I supposed to program that exact loop? Are we going to not use drums? Have the drums only come in on the bridge or the breakdown? Or are we just going to have the drums emulate the loop? And so for me, we decided, okay, we kicked it off, we started playing. I said, great, the beat is static the entire time. I said, well, why don't we try on the recording studio floor? I said, we've got to do something on the verse to separate the verse from the chorus feel. So this is where your influences come out. Stuart Copeland, huge influence, right? Liberty DeVito, huge influence. They both played songs with that feel. 4 on the floor. Liv had that song Pressure, Billy Joel, you know, pressure, that half. So the 4 on the floor thing, and so this is what happened. If you're a session drummer, you might suggest something. If the band digs it and the producer digs it, you get the green light, and then it's time to record it. And so the first verse has the 4 on the floor kick drum feel with the Stuart Copeland cross stick, and then the second verse has the 4 on the floor feel with the Liberty DeVito giant backbeat on the snare drum. So the verses are different, the choruses are different, and that's the whole idea, is that you try to make the song grow. Each section is a little bit different, has a different character, and you're taking the listener on a journey the whole time. And you can do that by what you're playing, how you're playing it, and the colors you choose on the drum set, you know, to paint. Like my wife painted this picture, you know, why did she choose those colors? I don't know. Maybe it just resonated with her that day, but so really it's not rocket science. You know, I can't always take credit for coming up with amazing drum parts, because a lot of times we are influenced by a demo. Right. You know, somebody's already programmed something and they go, I really like that beat. Right. And you have to play that beat. But I get to Redmondize it. I say I get to Redmondize it, which means I get to put my little bit of a personal stamp on it, because it's going to be around forever. And in 20 years, I want to be able to listen to it and go, oh, we had a good day, or I'm glad I chose that, right? Yeah. And then you take that same groove, and then when you go on tour, you have to arena-size it. So I Redmondize it in the studio, and then I arena-size it. But you have to add a little bit more muscle to the frame to take it to the people. Yeah. Otherwise, they can just listen to it on their iPod, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
They want to see a caricature of the song.
Yes.
Live.
And you want to be able to hit that guy that's at the back row. You want to be able to get to him as well as everybody else that's in the VIP section. You want to be able to get that guy that's in the nosebleed section. You want to be able to touch him a little bit as well. But
yeah, exactly.
Getting that backbeat in there. Very good, yeah. We're talking about your live situation. Watch some of your drum solos. They're amazing. Talk me through how you get your drum solos, how you construct your drum solos.
Oh, that's a great question. Thanks. I'm not really known for soloing. I mean, I did a lot of soloing in high school and college, and you know, it's great. You always want to prepare for those moments when somebody's like, drum solo, go. You want to have a bag of tricks that you can pull out. For me, there's 2 types of drum solos. There's the walking the tightrope and putting yourself on a ledge and just saying, I'm going to create something in this very moment in time, and I don't know where I'm going to go. Now, that's a skill set. It takes time to develop that. You have to be incredibly brave, especially if you're doing it in front of 2,000 people or 20,000 people. And the early day, and there's the other kind is where you've planned every note out, or at least you have a form. So if I do a drum clinic, sometimes I'll create a little form for myself, tape it on my bass drum head, just so my Tyrannosaurus P brain can not forget at least where I'm going. Like I'll come out and I'm going to play colors. So I'll play cymbals, rims, and then I'll go into some sort of a tribal tom thing. Then I'll probably put I'll put giant beat. So I'll go into a giant beat. Then I'll go into some snare action, and I'll use dynamics and phrases in the snare action. Then I'll end with some sort of double bass, cymbal, bada 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 thing. We're back from commercial break kind of thing, just to remind me where I want to go with the solo. And there are other times, like we had a live DVD shoot called Wide Open Live and More. It came out about 4 or 5 years ago, and we thought we hit the big time because we were playing. We sold out this a small hockey rink in Clarksville, Tennessee. It was like 5,000 people. And we were like, my God, we did it, 5,000 people. This is amazing. And Jason, part of the things, he wanted me to go out there and do a drum solo. And he said, keep it around 3 minutes, almost like it's song, like it's like a track listing. Right. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. Maybe you can see, if you know me well enough, you could see the wheels turning in my mind. There's a hamster, and it's da-da-da-da-da-da. But I have enough experience that I know that I want to take the listener on some sort of a journey. Right. You know? And you have, as long as you know how you're going to start and how you're going to end, then you just let the muse take over and take you to some sort of a special place.
Not bad.
So in recent years, Jason's show has become more like there's so many hits that we just run down the hits. So we haven't been doing a drum solo. Right. But a lot of the drum solos you'll see on YouTube are very much just kind of in the moment. I have a rough outline of what I want to do. And then if you have the chops and you have the experience, it's just a matter of filling it in. But I think you should always take the listener on some sort of journey and use the colors on the drum set and use dynamics. Dynamics are very underused. You can start soft and build the entire time to loud, or you can start loud and then somewhere in the middle you bring it down to a whisper, and you can really catch people's attention. And then, of course, to bring them back from getting popcorn and let them know that the band is going to start again, you got to end loud. You got to end triumphant.
Right. Yeah. So, and how do you transition then into like the next song? Have you like certain structures that you put together for it to transition into a song?
Like a lot of guys would know. Well, you know, what we have with Aldean is we have a lot of acts have this. We have the count off mic because it's so loud in the arena with everybody clapping their hands that not everyone is going to hear the stick of the clicks. And me, even with these golden pipes going 1, 2, 3, just shouting at the top of my lungs, I have a little foot switch, and we open up the foot switch, and it opens up the gate on the microphone, and I can lean over and go 1, 2, so they can hear my voice, they can hear the stick of the click, stick click, and we're in. And a lot of times in Jason's show, we would put the drum solo right before a high energy song called Johnny Cash, which had a 4-bar drum intro that was inspired by my early hero Peter Criss, like tom-toms, and we overdubbed a cowbell. Like actually, me and Will Ferrell played a cowbell on that track. But so the guys knew that when I stopped, you know, and then I'm into the 4-bar drum solo from Johnny Cash. Right. They know, oh my God, better get on stage. Right, we're playing this song.
Finish up the beers.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your clinics and the crash course, your crash course system.
Okay, yeah. I think that anybody that has that I feel like teaching is a calling, and I think I have a teacher's heart in the sense that I want to share information, and everything that you come across as an experience in your life is a gift. And what I want to do is all these things are happening to me for a reason. And I realize that there's so many other people in the world that share the same passion and that want to accomplish many of the same things, because I get questions all the time. And obviously, I emailed Greg Bissonette. I emailed Kenny Aronoff. I emailed all my heroes.
Yes.
Liberty DeVito. Now I break bread now with Liberty DeVito. I see him at events, and how you doing, Paisan? How's it going? We hug each other. We pass the bread. I can't believe this is unbelievable that this ended up happening to me. But people want to do the same things. They want to be in a successful band, or get behind a set of drums every day, or hear that roar of the crowd. That roar of the crowd is validation that you have done something right in your life, that you followed your dream all the way to the end, right? That you saw that thing through with passion and persistence. Exactly. So for me, I wanted to, of course, share the ins and outs of drumming. Here's a flam, here's a pair. This is how you apply them to the drum set. Conceptual stuff that people expect at a drum clinic. But I wanted to open up a little bit more of my heart and show the humanity of drumming, which is, this is man's first it's our first instrument.
Right.
It's the first way that we communicated, probably before we even opened our mouths. We were hitting on skulls and logs, and we took the hides of animals, and pretty brilliant stuff, right? I mean, it goes back to the dawn of man. Exactly. So I think a lot of things that are missing from drum solos are the humanity, where somebody can really open up their heart and say, this is what I did on a daily basis for 30 years to get to where I am. Right. And the hard work never stops. You never are done paying your dues. Yeah. So I said, I have a friend of mine who is a great, he's an educator. He's an educational speaker, and he has a great program called Teach Like a Rock Star. And we're old pals. He marched in the drum line with me at Texas Tech, and we would share our hopes and dreams with each other. And here we are 20 years later, and he goes, dude, you need an acronym. Crash. I was like, Crash, yeah. What can we put in there? What are some 5 things that you can use? Oh, God, commitment, relationships, attitude, skill. It was almost born right on the spot. Right, yeah. And then, like anything else, you have to go, you have the program, you have to go out there and you have to beta test it in front of people. So as we were riding a tour bus, building Jason Aldean's career, essentially, during the day, okay, you're on the road, some guys play golf, some guys play video games, some guys go to the gym. I would be cruising down the highway, and I would look in that city, and I would look up a music store, a guitar center, a drum shop, a high school, a Rotary Club meeting, or a college, and I would say to myself, this thing is going to work at all these things, and I want to come speak to somebody, work on my speaking chops. Yeah. So a lot of times I ended up at the community college in the music department, and I'd be playing on some pet band drum set, not my sponsors, right? Different brands, right. But I just wanted to go. I would do these things for free to get the feedback from the percussion instructors and from their students to say, right. Wow, this is great. And they would give me a testimonial, and I would collect footage, and you just start to build that brand. And now people are actually paying me to do this thing, which is incredible. This is where you want to get in life. Yes. But I think it's a fun program. It keeps people engaged because it's a talk play format. Right. And I'm in and out. I've done 45s, I've done 90s, and 75 seems to be the best length, right. to talk about. So to talk about these things. But let's talk about commitment. You got to be committed to this craft, right? Because it's so competitive, right? It's so competitive. First of all, it's hard to just get good at a musical instrument, so you have to be committed to doing that. But once you get good enough where you can say, wow, I want to be able to play with other people, that's where the follow-through comes, the commitment to actually chase this as a career. Relationships. You have to honor relationships because, like I said, I've only gotten one job from an audition. Everything else has come from people championing me and going, right. Let's get Rich on the gig. He's fun. He'll know the material, da-da-da-da-da. And it's vice versa. People champion me. I champion them. Attitude. You got to have a great attitude because this is a people business. It's all about people, and people want to work with people that are easy to work with, that have good attitudes, that have team spirits, and skill. You got to develop your skill sets. And I tell everybody the one most important thing is you got to be able to read music. Now, there's some really successful drummers out there that can't read music, but they are the exception to the rule. I think the people that really can know how to read music are going to give themselves more opportunities for success. And then also get some experience playing other kinds of music. So you're going to play Latin music, you play pop music, you play rock music, you play jazz music, you play classical music. Eventually, hopefully you would find your calling either by an opportunity you create for yourself or by through relationships, an opportunity that comes to you.
Right.
So here I am, the alt rock drummer in Nashville. It happened because as a result of the artists that I played with, I've been playing with for 10 years. So I got that label. But it's good to be known for something. Better be known for something than nothing. And then hunger, staying hungry, being hungry. You have to have that fire burning in your belly for success.
Right.
And there's no way around it. So if passion is your engine, you fuel that engine with hard work.
Right.
And if you have passion and you have hard work and you have focus, nothing can stop you. Right? Nothing can stop you. And I think playing music full time in a city like Nashville is literally like winning the lottery. It's that difficult. I think it's that difficult. And so
probably harder. It's probably easier to win the lottery than it would be to be.
It's tough,
a
man.
successful
It's a tough biz, you know. Tough biz. So I know that was a kind of a mouthful there, but that's the philosophy.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's the kind of philosophy I wanted to have for my events. Right. So I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot, and people seem to enjoy it as well. So I'm just going to keep on doing it.
Yeah, that's great. It's amazing. One thing I noticed about you talking about the passion. You see that every time you play. When you're there, you're not just sitting there. You're animated. You know, even when you're playing the most basic beat, you're animated so everyone can see that you are totally into it. You're not just waiting for the next song to come along, or you know, I kind of. To me, you're like the Ray Lazier of Nashville. You know, Ray's really very passionate about the way he plays as well. And
yeah, I met him a couple of times at some events and Sabian events and stuff. And just like I love that China right there. Very creative, powerful, and he was not afraid. He was another guy because I've read articles that was not afraid to roll up his sleeves. You know,
right?
He was at MI studying. And was always playing in a band, and then he ended up teaching at MI and was always playing in a band, and then touring with David Lee Roth for 8 years or whatever, and then auditioning and beating all those other drummers out for Korn, and in between, he was playing for. He might think it's creepy that I know so much about him, but I really do my research on drummers' paths they take,
yes,
and the steps that they take to achieve success. And he played in a bunch of cover bands in California. So in between David Lee Roth, he was always busy. And that's the idea is that, you know, when you get your tour book, you tour with somebody, they're going to say, here's your 80 shows, here's your 100 shows. When we first started, we had 200 shows. So here's your 200 shows.
Right.
I used to fill in things around the 200 shows. I would call people and I would be like, dude, I'm going to be in Nashville on Monday the 20th and Tuesday the 21st. Can you use me? And if people wanted you bad enough, they'll hire you for a showcase, or they'll have you come by their studio and knock out some tracks for them. You can knock out some drum lessons. So, like, I get real tired of hearing about people that are really sad sacks about the music business, because if you roll up your sleeves, there is work. There is opportunities.
Yeah.
You just have to be creative.
Right, exactly, yeah. And you've worked that into a business for yourself now. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about your gear. You know, what type of gear you use, the drums you use and stuff? Sure.
Man, DW Drums, been around for 40 years. What I like about the company is that, first of all, it's a very romantic tale. You know, my good friend Don Lombardi, he started the Drum Workshop, which was a teaching facility in his garage in Southern California. And then he acquired some of the drums from the old Camco company, and there you go. The American dream begins. He started Drum Workshop.
Right.
And he's got one heck of a team over there. You got John Good, and you got Chris Lombardi, and you got Scott Donnell, and you got Jules, and you got Garrison, and the whole team over there. Steve Vega. I mean, everybody is an expert at what they do.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that it all starts on that floor. They make a finely tuned, good enough is never good enough American product, and everything is made right on that floor except for the little bag that your double bass pedals come from. They farm that out. It's a Cordura bag. Everything else, every other little widget that is made right on site.
Right. Yeah.
And when if you haven't taken the DW tour, anybody listening, you could call ahead and you could take the tour, and they will show you how everything is made through the entire process. To my friend Louie at the end, he's hand painting designs on the drums. Pretty incredible.
Yeah,
and they're always
passion.
innovating.
They have that passion right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else has a magnet throw off, snare throw off?
Oh yeah.
Who else has the 3 different positions to create 3 different sounds out of your snare drum? Every innovation, and they look phenomenal. And the fact is that the brand is so widespread that as a touring musician and as an educator, I can get that product anywhere on the planet. Zimbabwe, Madagascar, Dubai, South Korea, you're going to be able to find a DW drum set.
Yes.
So for me, more than anything, the product is incredible and it's consistent, but I'm also in love with the people there. And it goes through all my companies. Sabian Cymbals, I've been there since 2003. They took a chance on me. I was cracking cymbals left and right. I didn't have a palette. I was broke. We were starving, and I was in a struggling original band. We had 2 songs on the radio, no money in the bank. Can't afford a $400 craft cymbal. They took a chance on me, and I am loyal to the end. If you take a chance on me, I will be with you forever.
Right.
Remo, they took a chance on me in 1993. I was playing on AT&T jingles. I was teaching. I was playing in a top 40 band. They invented the drum head. They have such a wide palette of sounds, and I'm pretty traditional. Clear Ambassador on the bottom.
Right.
Coated or clear Emperor on the top.
Oh yeah.
CS Black Dot or Emperor X on the snare drum. Pinstripe Power Stroke 3 on the kick drum.
Yeah.
And you put any of those heads on any kit on the planet, and it's gonna sound like a drum set. It's gonna sound something you've heard on the radio for the last 20, 30, 40 years. So
definitely.
Also wonderful people. And ProMark, it's Tennessee Trees, assembled in Texas, and now the operations are run in New York. But all those people are just incredible people, and they understand what I'm trying to do as a touring drummer, a recording drummer, and an educator, and that's just incredible. And of course, the products they're versatile. They've stood the test of time. They're always innovating. Let's see what else we have. Like Gator cases, we have Grover percussion, we have Rhythm Tech percussion. We have Kickport. We have Gone Bops percussion. We have Audio Technica microphones. The list goes on and on. Of people that play into being able to do what I do every day. You have to have multiple drum sets in Nashville, and you have to have a drum set on the road, and then you have to be able to get a drum set quickly to do an educational event. So I eat up gear, man, But I tell you what, I'm not a gear hound. If I don't use the gear, I don't hold on to it. I have what I use. I'm not a collector.
Right. Yeah, very good. Let's talk a little bit now about your other projects, like your producing, your songwriting, those other packages that you put together.
Sure. I think that the new motto has been it's diversify or die, and that is very, very kind of poignant for the time in the music business because file sharing, Napster, and this whole thing that has happened in the last 15 years has changed music forever. So sales are down,
right,
and people don't want to pay for music. They think it should be free. So I don't want to go on a giant rant here, but this has changed the music business forever. And unless somebody comes up with something as innovative as iTunes and the iPod, it's never going to go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to roll up your sleeves and say, okay, for me, music and drumming are the umbrella to my company. Right. And there's going to be all these other things, these branches on this olive tree that play into what I do. It's exhausting doing all these different things, and I would love to be the guy that can just, all right, I'm in London today, I'm in Paris today, I'm in LA, I'm just cutting drum tracks for everybody, like the 80s. And in the 80s, when guys were doing that, I was just cutting my teeth. So now here I am, what I would consider my prime, and it's later. It's later. I'm later in life, and the music business isn't as healthy. So, anyways, we're in Nashville. It's the songwriting capital of the world.
Right.
Everybody ends up coming here, even if they're hit songwriters from other cities. They always end up coming to Nashville and co-writing because there's a formula here, and some people live and die by the formula. Some people hate the formula.
Right.
But there is a formula, and it will definitely help your songwriting chops. So as a result of relationships, I'm on my 3rd year of a publishing deal. So somebody actually pays me to foster relationships with other great songwriters and learn the craft. I learned the craft of songwriting on the fly. What gives me an advantage is I get to see what songs work and don't work in front of live audiences for the last 20 years. So I've developed a pretty good ear in that sense. And also, drummers make awesome co-writers because we show up with loops and hand drums and cajones, and we can instantly bring a song into where it's almost going to be like, this is the groove. And if you have a songwriter, they're like, they're trying to find the buttons on the drum machine. They love having that instant feedback. And then, I have a musical mind, and I love lyrics. I'm so glad that all the reading and the poetry and all that stuff is coming out now.
Yes.
And so it's fun. It's a new skill set. I'm not nearly as good as I am playing the drums, but you have to be brave when you're learning a new skill set.
Right.
So I dive into that a lot, and that's fun. And my production is all co-production. I have a company called New Voice Entertainment, and we are the first rhythm section production team in the history of Nashville. I don't think this has ever happened before. Nashville has a tradition of having a producer who calls his favorite musicians. Usually those musicians, if they can afford them, they call the A team. So you have these different teams of studio musicians.
Right.
And I've been working like heck to get on the A team for 15 years, and I said, heck, man, I'm just going to hire myself. So we started producing acts, and we just hire ourselves. And what's great about it is that an artist literally can have their sound shaped from the studio floor, and that's where the hotbed is. Right. The studio floor is where a lot of decisions are made about tempo, key, form, the length of the song, arrangements, the attitude, the shape of the song. Yeah. A lot of decisions are made on the studio floor, so this artist can go sing in the booth and have their producers on the floor playing their instruments, right? And then we come back behind the board. We have a 4th partner that's behind the board, David Fanning, who's an artist in his own right. We're going to be cutting a record on him. And he's the eyes and ears of what is being heard behind the glass. Right. So once again, relationships, partnerships, any kind of ship is what you're going to need to navigate the sea of the music business. So I think anybody can do all these things. And people say, well, how did you become a producer? You know what? You call yourself a producer, you book the studio, you start working with an artist, you start to create a body of work, and as people begin to hear that body of work, people will start to take more chances on you. They'll give you real budgets and real responsibilities to hand in products, and the next thing you know, you might hear something on the radio like a Thompson Square, Yeah. And we've had other acts that have been on the radio, but sometimes maybe that act doesn't make it past the top 40, right? And then back in the days of Casey Kasem's top 40, if you had a top 40 hit, Dick Clark, you were rocking. Yeah. But now to really make any kind of impact in the industry, you have to consistently be in the top 10.
Right, yeah.
It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. But we roll up our sleeves, and we just do it, man. We just go for it.
Definitely, yeah. Like I was telling Dan, you are the prototype of the modern drummer now. The drummer has to evolve and more than just sit there and play the backbeat. He has to get involved in the songwriting and the producing and online teaching, and you utilize all those tools to make yourself successful. You've pioneered online teaching as well, and it's really great that you're.
Thank you. You're in Pennsylvania and I'm in Nashville, and we're having a great conversation.
Yes.
I'm drinking my coffee. Who would have thought that this would have happened?
I know, yeah. It's amazing, really. Yeah, well, it's been great talking to you, Rich.
Thank you.
Let's before we wrap up. Is there any future projects you want to promote or anything like that you want to talk about?
Oh, future project. God, there's always the future. I have a book in the can, as they say, called Fundamentals of Drumming, and we haven't decided if it's for the age category. The age category we're kind of toying with, but me and a co-author who lives up in your area, the New England area, my friend Michael Albrecht. He's a published author. He's already published 10 books. And so there's your partnership thing right there. I said to myself, I have no experience authoring, but I have a lot of books in me. So I would rather have a partner who can help me and get this book out. So we have a book in the can called Fundamentals of Drumming. And I think it's going to address this missing age gap of books for young kids, because the kids are starting younger and younger. They're starting at 3, 4, 5, 6 years old.
Right.
And the idea is to get them on that DW starter kit, tiny kit, so they can reach the pedals.
Right.
And this book is going to correspond with that product. So that's kind of what we're working on developing. And I also have a book about navigating the Nashville music business, which was long overdue. Like I said, I'm not a rocket scientist. I was just, by pure tenacity and being stubborn and not giving up, right, I've been able to navigate the music business. And so people want to know what that is. So I've written a book, and then it's just the old adage: is it going to be a major publisher or is it going to be self-published? So I have pretty much 2 books in the can with my friend and co-author Michael Albrecht. Going to be starting recording the 6th Jason Aldean record.
Excellent.
Which we're very excited about it in November. And November is a sexy month because I'm doing my first annual Crash Course for Success Drummers Weekend in Nashville. Right. And this is going to be 24 hours of hands-on training with me. And we have guest clinicians. We have a rock and roller, Troy Laketta from Tesla. We have my friend Jim Riley from the Rascal Flatts. I have Jason Aldean's producer that's going to come speak to everyone, Michael Knox. I have my songwriter buddy, John Eddy, who's had a bunch of songs recorded with Kid Rock. And then I have an all-star studio panel of studio drummers. So the kids are going to have one-on-one experience.
Excellent.
3 caters meals a day, and to get to hang out, and I'll answer all their questions, and I'm going to go over my money beats and playing with the click track and all Nashville. If you go to richredmond.com and you click on the icon about Rich, and then you scroll down, it says what Rich does, or it's Crash with Rich. You hit on Crash with Rich, and you'll be able to register for the event, which is November 1 through 3. Then I am going to do a clinic it's going to be called Diary of a Nashville Session Drummer, Demystifying the Nashville Studio Process. I'm going to be doing it at the 52nd Annual Percussive Art Society in Indianapolis. Right. And that's going to be on Saturday, November the 16th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I have 50 minutes to tell everyone how to read a Nashville number chart and what the expectations are for a Nashville studio drummer. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. What else? Finishing up the Aldean tour. We have like another 20 or 30 dates. But I love what you and Dan have going with Drum Talk TV. I think it's beautiful.
Thanks a lot.
And any way that people can get up close and personal with their favorite drummers, I think education is the key, man. So I think it's really beautiful. And if anybody wants to keep in touch with me, they just go to richredmond, REDMOND.com.
Great, that's fantastic. Thanks very much, Rich. And of course, you can follow us on Drum Talk TV at facebook.com and on YouTube as well. Thank you very much, Rich. It's been great talking with you.
Thanks so much, Alan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you soon.
All right.